Thanks for joining. We're going to be looking at a couple points about the problems with social media influencers and the do your own research movements that plague healthcare and discussions around overall health.
Warning. The following presentation contains information that might contradict what you have previously heard, or believed to be true, about how the human body works, and contains material that is not suitable for closed-minded individuals. Enjoy!
And so when we start looking at the issues when we deal with the social media issues and with the do your own research, is the fact that myths and misconceptions, misinformation and disinformation gets perpetuated throughout the population. This leads to issues when it comes to understanding the overall issues surrounding health and healthcare, including the concepts about what it means to be healthy and how to go about developing health. Part of the problems comes into what's usually referred to as the Dunning-Kruger effect. And most of the information that we get presented to us through social media, as well as through the do your own research movements, come from people who fall within the level of expertise of none. Very little actually comes from the experts. And because we get a lot of information coming from the none side of expertise, we're inundated with a host of concepts that have been shown to be empirically false. But the problem is that we're left with ideas surrounding the confirmation bias. And within this, we tend to conflate facts with opinions. And the fact that everybody is able to convey their own opinion is great, but you have to have facts that back up the opinions. Without having facts that back up the opinions are meaningless, particularly when it comes to understanding healthiness, and how to go about developing health through changes in lifestyle interventions. The other problem that comes into play when we start looking at this confirmational bias, as well as the ever increasing level of people claiming to be experts, is that they don't understand what it means to be normal or to have an average response within a treatment effect. When we start looking at what it means to be normal within the population, we're talking about 95% of the population. It's not what happens to me. It's not what happens to you as being normal, even though that might be our normal. It's what happens in terms of the overall population as what is normal for the population. And so we cannot conflate what happens to us as being normal for everybody else, because everybody's going to fall somewhere on the normal curve. The problem is that when we start looking at most of the ideas that are being presented to us through the social media feeds and through the do your own research ideas, is that they ignore the complexity that is human physiology that leads to overall health. And the fact that we have all of these various factors that are going to come into play that allow for the development or the loss of our overall health. Most of them will pinpoint one specific factor as being the overall thing causing health issues. This leads to various dangerous trends that we see within social media feeds as it relates to our overall health. Things that include excessive exercise and spot reduction techniques, what I eat in a day, water talk, mouth tape sleeping, internal showers, frozen honey drinking, lightest water drinking, hot girl walks, and the anti-vaccinations. So how can we go about combating these issues? What can we do in order to alleviate some of the myths and misconceptions, some of the misideas that are being presented to us? There are three things that we have to work on, and they're all focused on our ability to be literate. The first one is scientific literacy. When we start working on improving scientific literacy, it's about understanding what is a hypothesis, and the hypothesis being our explanation for a phenomenon. The scientific method, which is simply a process of empirical observations, and scientific consensus, which is the idea that most of, meaning 95% plus of all of the evidence points towards one thing being true. It's not a democratic opinion poll about what we hope is true, but what is empirically shown to be true. We also have to work on improved nutritional literacy. When we start looking at improved nutritional literacy, we have to look at things like diet and nutrition is not about calories, even though that's what it's talked about. The qualities and quantities of the various nutrients that we need are essential nutrients, and the fact that trace elements lead to toxicity. Along with that, we have to improve our health and medical literacy, understanding that it's all about feedback regulation that leads to optimal performances. The fact that it is a highly complex interaction of factors and no single factor leads to or causes the end of health or healthiness.